And one thing I did always promise her, though, was, hey, we're going to run a 5K. One of these days, we're going to run a 5K every year. Hey, Dad, it's just a year. I broke my foot. I got to come back from that. And what about this year? Well, still got numbing on there. It's still hard for me to run. So it's embarrassing. I mean, you're making excuses to your 13-year-old daughter. And, now I see myself, we're big into softball and baseball in our family. And my son loves football. Well, I can only throw for so long. Now my back's hurting. Or, soft toss to the kids. You got to bend over and pick stuff up all the time. It's the little things that I never thought about that I can't do for long.
And some more pressure.
Lorenzen to his buddy Derek Smith back in his pocket. Lorenzen stands in there, fires a bullet. See the gun on Lorenzen. That's another first down. Lorenzen! Touchdown, Kentucky! Pressure again. Lorenzen still on his feet.
He's going to run it.
Jared Lorenzen picks up the first down with basically 1/8.
My name is Jared Lorenzen, and I've battled with obesity my entire life. My battle with my weight would cut my career short. I'm only 36 years old, with 2 beautiful children, and a lot to live for, so I will not let obesity define me. I may be dying, I'm not really quite sure yet. First of all, y'all better get ready to laugh. All right, when I get nervous, I try and make jokes. First of all, I can't thank University of Kentucky enough. I mean, this to me, you don't set out to do this stuff. You don't wake up and say, I'm going to get into the Hall of Fame. I didn't expect this. I wasn't sitting there going, hey, I'm going to get in the Hall of Fame. I didn't know I was on the ballot. And I get the call, and I didn't know who it was. So I let it go and go to voicemail. And if anybody knows me, I'm a bit of a social media guy. And I immediately thought when I saw the voicemail, oh, God, what did I do? What did I put on Twitter now? I got the AD calling me. He calls me and says, I'd like to congratulate you. And again, this is where I have to apologize. I believe I told you to shut up 3 or 4 times. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you serious? You got to be kidding me. Oh, my Lord. I got my mom, dad here. What do you say to your parents? They raise you. They never miss a game, home or away. God, my mom and dad, I can't imagine all the traveling they did to Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, traveling anywhere we went. So for that, as basic as it gets, thank you. I love you. Couldn't have done it without you. I really couldn't.
We recently stumbled across one piece of video that just might take the cake. So you're saying, hey, it's a pretty big 3-month-old, and it is. Only problem is this kid is a newborn, and what's more, this kid is Jared Lorenzen.
I kept asking my dad to be sure that that was really my baby, because they had him in a incubator next to a 1-pound baby, and they had to go out and get him little t-shirts and diapers because they didn't have anything in the nursery that fit him. So Yeah, it was a shock.
I've literally been big my whole life. Always the tallest, always the biggest, always the guy that had his birth certificate checked. You know, I was always that guy, which made you feel a little out of place. I mean, you just kind of, you know, you're looking around and everybody else kind of comes up to your shoulders. My first sport was soccer. I played it for about a month and would literally sit at midfield and cry because I didn't like the running.
He didn't like the running. He was awful. It was miserable. We stayed one season. That was all he lasted on that.
My mom figured, okay, let's try football. A little less running for you. Pee Wee football, when I was 5 years old, is when I first started playing full contact football.
When he became a quarterback, he cried then too because he didn't want to touch the other guy in front of him.
And basketball right around that same age as well. I remember playing on a first and second grade basketball team. My dad could have been a professional athlete, had me right out of high school. So he was always pushing to throw something and shoot something or whatever it may be. You know, it's go outside and play. So everybody had basketball courts. Everybody was looking to throw. Everybody was looking to do stuff. So that's what I knew.
I think immediately we knew he had something special. Even when he was little, when we'd just throw a wiffle ball at him and he could just hit it forever.
It was always so much easier to practice. You know, I was lucky enough to be one of the better basketball players on the team. Football always just came natural, though. When I was 5 years old, I can still remember it right now, we were practicing at Pioneer Park. I picked up a ball before practice and threw it. And Steve Preston, who was the head coach, said, "Can you do that again?" I was 5 years old. I picked it up, threw it again, and it went about 20 yards. Well, at that age, that's a pretty far throw. And he said, "All right, you're our quarterback." And I didn't know what that meant. But I was like, all right. Cried every day with that because I didn't want to put my hand on a center's butt. But it was just easy. Once I got that, you know, finding receivers were easy. Handing the ball off was easy. But I always consider myself better at basketball. And I'm one of the younger kids in the grade too, so it was a little difficult. A lot of our meals growing up were what we could put in the microwave. You know, a lot of the Salisbury steaks, the lasagnas, the Kentucky Fried Chickens, fish sticks and mac and cheese. I was never made to eat vegetables. You know, if you didn't like them, you picked them out. So my vegetables that I grew up on were mac and cheese and potatoes. I loved them. I'll eat potato any way you want me to eat them. So a lot of burgers, a lot of pizza.
You know, my parents worked all the time, so I think we did a lot of easy food, like things that we can make on our own. We did do a lot of pizza or mac and cheese or things that us kids could cook as well, so that if our parents had to go somewhere, we could take care of ourselves on that.
You know, I didn't eat broccoli. I didn't eat cauliflower. I didn't even know what cauliflower was until I got to college.
You know, we were young. Jared was a teenager. I was probably 12. We would just eat whatever we wanted just because we could get away with it at the time. We took advantage of our parents being too busy to tell us no.
Started getting 7th and 8th grade, that's when my parents split. And that's when I got really into Fort Thomas full time and started hanging out with my dad. Fort Thomas is we call it a football breeding ground. So, you know, one of those small town communities that everybody knows what everybody's doing. You ever seen the movie Varsity Blues? A lot like that. You know, the crowd shuts down, the town shuts down, just to be up there for the high school football games.
I would say we were about in 5th grade when the first time I ever met Jared. We actually played on different teams when we were younger, and we played against each other quite a few times before we ever became teammates. And I can tell you, once we became teammates, I was really happy about that. I didn't like playing against Jared. He was awfully good. And from there, our relationship kind of blossomed into, you know, going into middle school and into high school and playing sports together all the way through college. But I can remember almost the first time I ever saw Jared. He was a big kid then. We were both pretty good sized for the age that we were at.
Going into my 8th grade year, I had to weigh 155 pounds. I stepped on a scale, it was 175. I had 2 weeks to lose 20 pounds. Or maybe a month to lose 20 pounds. But I remember going to 2-a-days for Scott High School. So I was acting like I was going to play for them, working out in the morning and the afternoon, and then going to Pee Wee football practice at night. And then, God love these guys, that's why I'm still friends with them today. They would stay after practice and run with me. And all I had for a month straight, I would wake up and I'd have a skim milk and Wheaties. And then for my lunch and dinner was a little thing, a plastic baggie of grapes. That's all I ate for a month straight so I could lose the weight. And I remember being out there, we would weigh in Newport underneath the expressway. And I weighed in first. And I was 156 and a half. And I had until all of us weighed in, the whole organization weighed in. So I remember putting on sweats, a long sleeve shirt, a sweatshirt, and there was basketball courts down there. And at this point I had zero energy. But the team, as they would weigh in, would come down and run with me. So I'm running suicides to try and build up a sweat so I could lose this extra pound and a half. And finally got down to the last couple people, and I remember getting all the way down. They put a towel up around me so no one else could ever see, 155. And I stepped off, and this is, again, the gift and the curse. I stepped off. You know what the first thing I had? Plate full of brownies waiting for me. So I never saw 155 again. To be clear, my dad did the best he could. You know, he's a single parent, and he's trying to feed a 14-year-old boy, growing teenager.
I think he and his dad had a lot of pizza and a lot of Mountain Dew, from what I can understand. Yeah, I think there was a lot of, not that, you know, I'm saying I cooked a lot, because I didn't. I, worked a lot, but I think he fell into some really bad habits then, just from not being supervised all the time.
We would each grab a box of Hostess. I liked brownies and fudge rounds. He liked Swiss Miss or Swiss rolls. So he would have his box, I'd have mine. I would sit in my chair, and I'd have my 1 or 2 liters of Mountain Dew. And we would just, that was dessert. Dinner was Lee's, or dinner was pizza, or, we didn't cook. I mean, flat out, we did not cook. And then that was about it, until we got to high school days. And along came Highlands.
He was just as good of an athlete in basketball as he was in football. It was in baseball. He could just do things that pretty much everyone else couldn't.
I would say that as a kid, I would always think that my parents would cater to Jared because he was such a good athlete.
So my metabolism was sky high. I could eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and nothing was going to touch it. I'd never gain weight.
In baseball, he pitched, he catched, he played first base. He was a great hitter. Basketball, he could bring the ball up to court. He could play forward, center, it didn't matter. He could shoot threes. And obviously in football, he was easily the best quarterback in the state of Kentucky, if not the entire country, while we were in high school. So it was certainly a pleasure to play with a guy that was as athletic as Jared was for his size. At the time in high school, it wasn't like it was now. But he was still a really big guy in high school.
I didn't find myself actually being bigger, for even me, I was probably 250, 260 pounds my senior year.
In high school, he seemed, normal size to me, but all the sports announcers always made a big deal of it, so that's really when it started coming out.
But again, we were so good, it didn't matter, so I could do whatever I wanted because nobody could stop us. So who was going to tell me what to do? And then we get onto the basketball court, and we're the number 2 team in the state.
And people never really could understand how someone that big could move the way he moved.
I don't want to say I never worked at it, but I never worked at having a strong arm. It was something God touched my arm and said, this is going to be something special here. The running around, I attribute that to playing other sports. My senior year, I rushed for over 900 yards. Well, that's just playing basketball. That's just me going out there and having fun. It was just easier for me to play football than it was anything else.
There were countless times where he probably should have been sacked, and he never was. I mean, he would take 3 or 4 hits, and he could keep going. The majority of that was because he was much bigger than everybody that was trying to tackle him.
When I was a senior at Highlands, there wasn't anybody that could tackle me. We were dominant. We were a great team. we would do whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted.
I didn't realize what a big deal he was until that other kids were talking to me more. The older classmen wanted to talk to about my brother. Everyone wanted to know the scoop on him.
He was Mr. Kentucky football. We scored 801 points his senior year.
If we wanted to score on first down, we would score on first down. I can purposely remember throwing some incompletions so the drive would last more than 3 plays. We were that good. You know, I'm throwing to a 6'6", 260-pound tight end who we were also best boys playing basketball, and it just made it so easy. I mean, it was just, you know, when you're winning games 88-12, you know, your state game you won 56-7. I mean, it was easy.
It's unbelievable. I mean, we just won a state championship 56-7. I don't know what to think right now.
Quarterback Jared Lorenzen announcing he will come to UK to play football.
Lorenzen throws it over his head. Come on.
Lorenzen, no surprise, wanting to throw, and now runs. And has he ever got running room? All the way across midfield.
You know, in high school, I couldn't outrun anybody. I got to the SEC, and I'm playing all these guys that are making millions in the NFL.
It just was one of those players that you just, when you watched, you knew at any moment something special could happen.
So the yards and the accolades are kind of coming up, and it's things that I'm getting lucky doing, you know, such is life.
You know, he was the biggest quarterback in the country, so, you know, everywhere that we went during the 2000 season, Jared was the show. It was, how big is this guy? We want to see how big this guy is and how much he can move.
Going around to the different games, especially travel games, people treated us so well. You know, you show up and you're wearing your 22 jersey and people like immediately want to talk to you about it. Everyone was excited to see him because at that time, that's when we realized what a big difference in size he was when you're comparing to other college football players.
I always, you know, knew about the stories. You know, they would put him on a strict diet and he had to weigh in. And, you know, from my understanding, it was always back and forth. It was, you know, he made weight this week, but, you know, they'd have a victory or it'd be a Saturday night and he'd eat some pizzas.
2000, 2001 was a nice little pill called ephedra. And you were supposed to take 2 or 3 a day. It was in Rip Fuel. I remember going to GNC and buying it. It gave you the energy. That's the only way I got through it. Well, you're supposed to take 2 or 3. I was taking 12. There was actually a kid, I believe, that died from Florida State from it. And I can remember laying in bed at night, sweating, because my heart, you know, I could look down and see my heart just still going. And this is 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh my Jesus. I'd wake up in the morning. First thing I'd do, I'd have my bottle of water right next to my bed. There'd be 2 ephedra pills, 3 ephedra pills. Take it off to my morning practice. I'd go. So yeah, I lost the weight, but I never lost it the right way.
It's hard when the coach's wife is sneaking him in cookies and, you know, candy and stuff like that, and, you know, they're blaming it on us, and yes, to a degree it was our fault too, but the coaches' wives were doing it as well. So, you know, it's really hard to monitor your kid when they're away at college.
The funny part about Jared was that to me, it never mattered to me about anything with weight. Regardless, he made these plays. It was one of those things where it was like, you know, whether or not he's 225 pounds or he's 275 pounds, he's going to be able to throw the ball the same distance.
He stayed nimble. He could still move around.
He just was one of those special athletes where even when he was overweight, he still made these plays. And, you know, I do remember when, you know, it was something that was talked about with the coaching staff and things where they wanted him to make sure he understood he needed to keep in shape. And I think it just kind of started as a way where it just kind of started, was a slippery slope and started going downhill.
I never had a concern, and you know how guys are. I mean, we don't necessarily sit around talking about what troubles you or things that are bothering you or your own personal feelings, but I never really pictured him having substantial long-term weight problems.
my two children, who I was told I'm not allowed to even say their names, but Taylor, my daughter 13, and my son Tayden, who's 6. My daughter 13, I hit her when I was a junior in college. Starting quarterback at the University of Kentucky, and there's my daughter. All of a sudden things change and you got to grow up in a hurry. I went from a very immature 21-year-old to a still slightly immature 21-year-old, but I had a kid with me. It's funny how it really did. She changed my life for the better. I mean, I still have the picture of her in senior day. I can still see us walking out on that field out there right now, and her all bundled up, and it's been my greatest accomplishment, are those two over there. They run me to death. They really do. If I'm not at softball one day, I'm at football another, or baseball or basketball, and it's the truth, and I love it. I wouldn't trade anything in the world for it. I would gladly travel 3 hours every day to do it. So you guys are the absolute best. Love you all to death. Taylor, she is my main and driving force. I see how much fun my parents have right now with their grandkids. And at the way I'm going right now, as scary as it is, I'll die in 5 years. Right now, if I didn't wake up tomorrow, it wouldn't be a shock to many people, Like, look how big he is, damn. That's the goal. I love my son. We are always going to have something to bond with. We're always going to be out playing. We're always going to be doing something. But when it comes to her, that's my force. She's the one that kickstarts me. She's the one that kind of gets me going. She's the one that said, hey, we've got to get under control. I mean, it's to a point where, something's got to give. And, I think we're here.
Hey, I'm Allison, Director of Nutrition for Kroger. I'm so excited to tell you about OptUP, our new app created by our team of dietitians and food experts that makes it easy to shop and eat healthy. It links up with your shopper's card and automatically loads nutrition ratings for all the items you've bought. Then it suggests healthier items. You can even track your progress over time with your OptUP score. Download it for free today on the App Store and Google Play.